Hey, this is Alireza here. First of all, let me tell you guys, I'm sorry for my absence because I've been very busy in my job and I have had a lot of projects to do, so I couldn't find the time to make a tutorial for a while. Okay, anyway, let's go back to business. In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to encrypt your GRE site-to-site tunnel connection over internet. As I promised you in the previous video, if you remember, in the previous video, we configured GRE site-to-site tunnel connection over MPLS. If you don't know what MPLS is, I recommend you can flash back to my previous video because I completely explained what MPLS is and how it works. But right now, you may have to do this over internet, you may have to make the connection over internet, and as you know, security is extremely necessary, guys, and the links in internet are very vulnerable, right? So in this video, we're going to configure GRE over IPSEC, but you may wondering why we shouldn't use IPSEC only than GRE IPSEC, right? So I have to tell you guys, this video covers pretty everything, the advantages and disadvantages, the differences between IPSEC only and GRE over IPSEC. And I'm very proud and glad to tell you guys, this is the first and the only video for GRE over IPSEC configuration, and I have no idea why anyone hasn't created the content before, but here we go, good for you, I'm doing this. Now let's look at the differences between GRE over IPSEC and IPSEC only, the advantages and disadvantages. Alright, let's go. Now I brought you a table to compare the features between IPSEC only and GRE over IPSEC. So as you can see, both of them are encrypted and absolutely secure. But in tip number 2, feature multi-subnetting, you clearly see that IPSEC makes multi-subnetting much more complicated and hard because you have to add IPs or networks to the phase 2 for each change in the network, right? But in a GRE over IPSEC, it's not that way, and no need to do that every goddamn time. And in feature number 3 and 4, IPSEC cannot carry multicast traffic, including dynamic routing info alone, which means you will need extra configuration to do that. So it's better to use GRE over IPSEC to make sure the protocols like VoIP, dynamic routing, and etc. are working well. So now you figured out why GRE over IPSEC is needed, and you have to learn that properly. The main reason, as you know right now, is because of the multicast addressing, which is especially used in dynamic routing like EIGRP, OSPF, and etc., right? And also in VoIP. So you may have to switch to GRE over IPSEC from IPSEC only to avoid getting into the trouble in the future. So in this video, we've got 2 scenarios. Scenario number 1 is to configure 2 Fortigate devices in different spots in headquarter Fortigate and finance branch. We configured pretty everything in the scenario number 1, including GRE, IPSEC, and etc., pretty everything. And scenario number 2 has a lot of fun because it is created for network specialists, for network administrators who have already configured IPSEC site-to-site tunnel connection in their network, and they're supposed to switch to GRE over IPSEC after watching this video, right? So there's so much fun. Don't lose it. Let's jump into the laboratory. Okay, knock knock. This is our scenario number 1. As you can see, there are 2 sites. HQ headquarter with WAN IP 10.10.10.10 and site 2 with Fortigate for in finance branch with WAN IP 20.20.20 with a local area network, that these local area networks are supposed to be connected to each other through GRE over IPSEC, site to site, right? And there is ISP zone in the middle that we don't have to do with that, because there are many routers and paths and ways along the way in the real world. So don't concern about this one. Okay, we have already configured the IPs, the WAN IP to the nodes, and also we configured LAN IP, the nodes which is connected to the LAN for each site. And also we have configured static route to see each other. And if I go to the GUI in HQ Fortigate, in HQ Fortigate FG-HQ headquarter, it stands for headquarter, remember that guys. We have configured some default route for the network as we just set up in real world. If we go to CLI in FG headquarter, we execute ping 20.20.20.20, the WAN IP in Fortigate in finance branch in another location. As you can see, the connection is okay and they're seeing each other, right? And now we're supposed to connect to each other through GRE over IPSEC. Now, what's the plan? The plan is, number one, is to create IPSEC in each site. And number two is assigning IP to the IPSEC interfaces in each site as well. And number three, creating our GRE tunnels and configuring that GRE for each site. We have to configure it right to make the connection over IPSEC. And step number four is to create our firewall policies, which is LAN to GRE and GRE to LAN. We will cover it completely, don't worry about that. And number five is to create firewall policy for IPSEC to IPSEC. And I will tell you guys why we do that. And number six, at the final round, we have to create our static route for the specific network, which is our LAN, the local area networks, right? Okay, let's start from FG-marketing branch in headquarter Fortigate. So let's open Fortigate GUI graphical interface in FG. Let's go to VPN, IPSEC tunnels. And I'm in a habit to create my IPSEC in custom because I'm free to set up my configuration. I name it IPSEC underline finance, for example. Finance. Great. Next. I just have to set up the interfaces and the tunnels, and then we have to check the GRE over IPSEC tunnel, right? So I'm not going deep into it. Okay, IP address. The WAN IP in finance branch, which is 20.20.20.20. The traffic goes through the WAN IP. I let it be. And now authentication. I'm in habit to configure my IPSEC in version 2 because version 2 is stable. So I define my PS call. Great. And I let it be just this for encryption and authentication SHA-1. And for Diffie-Hellman groups, I leave it in 14 and 5, right? In phase 2, I let it be everywhere for local area network and remote address everywhere. As I just told you in the previous section, because we're configuring GRE over IPSEC, so we are not limited to phase 2 for local addresses and remote addresses. Okay, everything is fine, and I'm going into FG-finance in finance branch, all the same in IPSEC tunnel, creating an IPSEC. I use custom, name it IPSEC underline, what's that? HQ, for example. All right, next, I'm going to input the WAN IP in headquarter, which is 10.10.10.10, right? See that? We are in finance branch, Fortigate, so we have to input the other side WAN IP, which is 10.10.10. Right? Let's go back to firewall, Fortigate, and the interfaces. The packets are flowing through WAN interface. Let it be, and version 2, which much more stable, and the PSK is just do the same in phase 1 proposal, encryption des and authentication SHA-1, and the others are just the same. And as I just told you, for phase 2, local addresses and remote addresses are everywhere. We are not limited. Okay. And now, guess what? We have to assign IP to the IPsec interfaces. I can do that through GUI and interfaces through my web interfaces from network interfaces, and as you can see, the IPsec interface is created right here. We can create our IP address here, and we're able to do that through CLI in SSH, right? In here. I can do that both, but I'm gonna assign IP to the interface through GUI in web interface, and I'm gonna do that in Fortigate in finance branch through CLI. Okay, now I'm going to assign IP. Guess what? You can assign any IP, but anyway, I'm going to assign 172.16. Guess what? 16.1 and 1 with /32, and the remote address 72.16.1.2 with /32. We do need just ping to troubleshoot that, so I leave it be. Okay, it is now assigned. CLI. After logging into Fortigate CLI, here we're going to config system interface, and after that we can edit the specific interface, which is our name is IPsec, right? IPsec underline HQ, and after getting to the interface, we can set, guess what we got? We got IP set IP 172.16.1. What is the IP? Which is 2, right? With /32, and set remote IP, which is 172.60.1 and 1 with with slash with prefix 32. And after that, we have to set allow access, which we do need only ping. And then set, which is, what is the interface? It is port 10. Port 10. Great. And after end, again, if I go to config system interface, interface edit IPSEC, which show, you can see the configuration that we just set, right? The IP, local IP is 1.2, and set allow access ping, and guess what? Remote IP address is 1.1. The HQ firewall and the interface is port 10. That's nice. And let's jump into the firewall in headquarters to see the interfaces in CLI to make sure that all configurations are set successfully and right. Config system interface edit IPSEC finance, which show, you can see the configurations that we just made. And as you can see, all is great, and set interface port 10 is configured successfully. Now it is time to create our GRE tunnels in each site. So we know that GRE tunnel connections don't have any graphical interface to configure. So the only way to configure GRE site-to-site tunnel is CLI in SSH, right? So for configuring GRE, I'm going into config system GRE. So as I told you, in the next step, we have to create our GRE tunnels. In GRE configuration, if I show, there is nothing here. For creating our GRE, edit, and the name of the GRE. I'm going to name it, guess what? GRE-finance. Finance. It is added, and after that, we can set local gateway. Listen guys, if you have already configured GRE, you know that local gateway is a WAN IP. But in this case, because we are going to configure GRE over IPsec, we have to assign the IPsec interface IP to the local gateway. You got it? To the GRE tunnel, right? So the local gateway is the IPsec interface IP. So it is gonna be 172.16.1.1. And then we set remote gateway. What is the remote gateway? It's the other side IP interface, IPsec interface IP, right? Which is 172.16.1.2. And then, as always, we set interface. What is the interface? Guess what, guys? Absolutely, it is IPsec interface, right? So if we wouldn't configure GRE over IPsec, as we had to input our WAN IP, we would have to set interface port, guess what? 10, right? Because the WAN interface is port 10. And in this case, because we're going to set GRE over IPsec, I repeat that again over and over and over again, we set interface, because this is very important, guys, because this is very important, and all of the problems are starting from here in GRE tunnel. We set interface IPsec underline finance, right? And after that, and the changes are going to be saved. And the other sides, in Fortigate in finance branch, we input we log in again. And get into GRE system, GRE configuration, show there is no configuration right here. So I'm going to add another one with name GRE, for example, HQ. It is added. As always, set local gateway. What is a local gateway? Right, 172.16.1. Guess what? 2, right? And set remote gateway, which is 172.16.1.1. The HQ IPSEC interface IP, right? And then set, guess what? IPSEC, right? Oops, set interface IPSEC underline HQ, and then the changes are going to be saved. And now we have done with GRE tunnel connection. Right here, in the next step, as I told you before, we have to create our firewall policy, LAN to GRE and GRE to LAN. The rest of the things in web interface. So we log into our web interface in headquarter. Firstly, we are in Fortigate FG-HQ, right? We're going into policy and object. Great. Creating new. I name it LAN to, what's that? GRE. Incoming from LAN interface, outgoing is GRE finance and source address. And the source address is, what's that? The source address I'm going to create. Guys, I can leave it in all, but for security purpose, because I'm in habit for increasing my security network, I'm going to create this network for my LAN. And believe me, guys, you believe or not, but I'm in habit. I cannot leave it be. I have to create my LAN network for security purpose. So I'm going to create LAN green and what's that? 192, 168, 100. My headquarter LAN IP is 100, right? 100, 0 with prefix 24. Great. So the source IP network is LAN and destination. I'm going to create my, guess what? Okay, I leave it be. Leave it to all, service, all, but you never leave it be in all, in real world, in real environment, because your security will be decreased. And we don't need any NAT because we're going to conduct the packets through VPN and tunnel. So no NAT. You can enable these security profiles in your real environment, but I don't do that in this laboratory. And then OK. And now I'm going to clone reverse policy. With this option, going into it and name it GRE LAN. And after that, just have to enable this policy. Done. Right? Let's jump into finance branch Fortigate. Do the same, do all the same. Create a policy, LAN, GRE. LAN, outgoing is GRE. Source, I'm going to create my LAN network as always. Sorry guys, I can't let it be. It's in my habit, believe me. 192, 268, 200, and okay. LAN destination, I leave it be all, but you never ever do that, guys, for your better security. I repeat that over and over again. Okay, I don't need NAT and enable. Okay, service all, you never let it be. Okay, done. And we just have to clone the reverse policy right here. GRE to LAN. Perfect. Okay, done. And now there is something important in this scenario, and you have to really listen to this very carefully. If you go to VPN and IPSEC, you can see that your IPSEC is still down, right? And our tunnel is not established yet. Despite to the policies that we created, we are not allowed to get through the tunnel. Why is that? Some of you right now, you would say that we haven't created any static route. Guys, static route is one of the plan in this scenario, but it is not the solution. I'm going to create our static route to show you. We are in Fortigate headquarters. Everybody wants to go to, for example, 200/24, go to GRE finance with 81, right? Static route in firewall in headquarters, and another side static route. We're going to create anyone wants to in finance branch. Anyone wants to go to, guess what? In headquarters, LAN local area network with 100 prefix 24. Go to GRE-HQ with 81. But still, the VPN IPSEC is down. What's the solution? Okay, the solution, the point you have to listen carefully is going into policy object, firewall policy, and create another policy, guys, which is IPSEC to IPSEC. We have to allow the packet gets through the IPSEC interface, IPSEC to IPSEC. Without this policy, we're not allowed to use GRE over IPSEC tunnel connection, right? So incoming interface is IPSEC and outgoing interface is IPSEC. Source all, destination all, service all, no NAT, and then done. And the other side, we're going to do the same, guys. In policy object, creating new IPSEC to IPSEC. Incoming IPSEC, IPSEC. That's really nice. And after creating our policy, if I go to, guess what, VPN, IPSEC, and refresh, and as you can see, it is nicely working, guys. Can you see that? So don't forget about the point. Try not to forget the create a policy IPSEC to IPSEC. And after that, if I go to PC1 in headquarters, in here, which show you can see the IPs that are already assigned. We are 110, the IP in PC1 in headquarters with ping 192, 168, 200. 110. PC2 in finance branch. As you can see, the connection is nicely working, guys. Right? And if I go to PC2 in finance branch with the same ping 192.168, 110, as you can see, bingo, it is nicely working. And as you can see, the scenario in scenario 1 is successfully done. And then another thing I have to show you guys is trace the packets. 192, 168, 110. As you can see, the packets are going to another side inside the encrypted connection. Secure. That's perfect. And if I, for example, listen to this link, I cannot see the info that the local area networks are sending and receiving. Believe me, guys, I'm not going to waste time in this video because I don't want to make this video too long. So not listen to that link. Let's quickly jump into the scenario 2. Okay, knock knock, scenario 2. My favorite scenario in this video, you know, because you're supposed to switch to GRE over IPSEC from IPSEC only after watching this video. So this is my favorite. And I have to tell you that, guys, but I'm not supposed to tell you that, but try to do this in your company's off time, and you have to get the permission from your manager to do that, because if you do that in your normal day, have downtime, everybody starts yelling you, what the hell are you doing here, something like that. So I don't want that, you know. I don't want my student be yelled. And that's why, so you have to get your permission first, or you have to do that in your off time, company's off time, in the weekends, for example. I don't know, but you have to handle it. All right, let's start with this scenario. We're supposed to switch to GRE over IPSEC from IPSEC only. And now what's the plan? We always make a banner. We're always drawing our map because to always have our plan step by step. So number 1 in our plan is assign IP to the IPSEC, right? So the first thing we have to do is assign IP to the IPSEC. And number 2 is to create our GRE tunnel connections in a CLI in each Fortigate, right? And of course, and number 3 is setting IPSEC interface IPs to the GRE connection, right? And then it is time to change the firewall policy source and destination addresses. Yeah, I'm sorry, we have to change the firewall policy, the incoming interface and outgoing interface, right? And then we have to change static route gateway to our GRE interface, GRE tunnel configuration, right? And then we will get rid of local and remote addresses in IPSEC phase 2. As I told you in a previous section, that in GRE over IPSEC, we don't need any local and remote addresses in phase 2, so we define it to everywhere. You got it? And the last one, an important one, we have to create another firewall policy for allowing IPSEC interface to IPSEC interface, right? To make the connection established. Okay, I start from firewall Fortigate in headquarters. So we're going to log in to firewall in HQ, and all of the configurations for IPSEC is established and configured. For example, if I ping PC from PC1 to PC2 because we have configured IPSEC site to site in both of the Fortigate devices. We're supposed to see the other side with 192, 168, 210. And as you can see, the connection between two sides, the local area networks are okay, and they're connected, they see each other, right? And if I go to, for example, PC2 in finance branch and ping in the PC in the headquarter PC in local area network and 110, as you can see, they're seeing each other. And if I trace the packets, the connection is okay. And now let's start from firewall in headquarter. Okay. As we wrote down in here in the banner, our plan, we have to assign IP to the IPSEC. So I'm going to network interface WAN IP. In sub WAN IP is IPSEC is created already. We enable ping. We input our IP, the private IP to the interface 172, 116, 16, for example 1 with 16.1 with no prefix in web interface, guys. Remember that. You never input your prefix or subnet mask in GUI interface because it is not going to allow you to continue. And for remote IP address, it is 16.16.2, for example. And in remote IP address, you have to input your prefix. Okay. And the IP is assigned. And another side in Fortigate in finance branch, as always, we go into interface. We do all the same. We go into IPSEC interface. We enable ping and setting 172, 16, 16, and guess what? 2, right? And the remote gateway 16, 16, 1 with prefix 32. Great. And now, in the next step, we have to create our GRE tunnel connections in each Fortigate. So we have to go into CLI, getting into GRE tunnel connection, system GRE with edit. I name it. Listen, guys, let me, before doing anything, I show you that there is nothing here. So you have to create your GRE tunnel connection with GRE edit and the name of the GRE, which is, I name it GRE hyphen, guess what? Finance as well. It is added, and then we have to set remote gateway. First, I set local gateway, which is 172, 16, 16, guess what? 1, right? 1. And then we have to set remote gateway, which is 172, 16, 16, 2, right? The IPSEC interface IP in finance branch, the IPSEC interface in finance branch. And then we input our interface. What is the interface? You tell me, guys. I told you before. It is the interface IPSEC. You got it? And end. We have done with this firewall. So we go in another firewall in finance branch, and we do all the same here config system interface. What's that? Oh, oops. It's system GRE. To configure our GRE tunnel. Edit, I name it, guess what? GRE-HQ. Set local. Set remote. Set interface. Which is, this is so important, guys. That's why I tell you over and over again, this is a scenario. Okay, interface, it is IPSEC HQ. Great. And end, we have done with this firewall as well. We have to change the firewall policy, source and destination, and incoming and outgoing interface, right? So we're going into policy. After getting into policy, we change the incoming and outgoing interface one by one. So incoming is absolutely, guess what? GRE LAN is okay. Finance, source finance to LAN is okay. Get into another firewall policy, changing the IPSEC outgoing interface is going to be GRE finance. We're done with this one. Let's jump into finance branch, firewall policy, and do all the same here. Changing the IPSEC to GRE HQ. And doing the last one, the IPSEC is outgoing to GRE HQ. And after that, I'm telling you guys that your connection is down right now, so you're into downtime. So be careful. You have to be careful right here, right now, to do the rest of the things very carefully. And now it is time to change your static route. So I'm going into static route. So in the first step, we have to change the static route gateway here. So I switch to GRE Finance in HQ and going into static route in Finance branch and change it to GRE HQ. Right? And after that, guess what? If you go to VPN IPSEC tunnel, you can see that your tunnel is down now. You tell me why. Despite to the previous scenario, you tell me why your IPSEC tunnel is down right now. Right, because of the policy. So you have to create a policy to allow IPSEC to IPSEC. IPSEC, because this is GRE over IPSEC. IPSEC to IPSEC, source all, destination all, service all. We don't need any net, enable, and we do the same in another side, firewall Fortigate in policy. Again, we create IPSEC to IPSEC, except we name it IPSEC to IPSEC, incoming, outgoing, source all, destination all, service all. Because you're supposed to do that in your real environment, guys. You have to be careful. You have to be careful and do all the things step by step with me. Okay? Step by step with me. And then we're supposed to, the connection is supposed to be up right now. And as you can see, the connection is up and ready to work. And if I go to PC1 in HQ with ping 192, 168, 210. The PC in finance branch, right? As you can see, the connection is still down and it is not working properly. Why? You tell me why. We didn't do the last round. We forgot the last round, which is we have to get rid of local and remote addresses in phase 2 in IPSEC connection in here. So we have to go to IPSEC tunnels and get into it, and in here phase 2 selectors, edit, and then very easy, we just have to let it be everywhere, right? Because we are configuring GRE over IPSEC, not IPSEC only. And after that, we do the same in another side. Really quick. Everywhere. Everywhere. Oops. And now it's supposed to be worked properly. So again, going to VPN IPSEC tunnel. And as you can see, the connection is established and it is working properly, guys. After getting rid of local and remote addresses in phase 2 in IPSEC tunnel, right? Let's check in the other side, local area network, ping in finance branch, right? We are in finance branch, PC2 in here. So we ping 192, 168. Guess what? 110. And after that, I'm going to trace the packets. And as you can see, the tunnel is up and nicely working. We have done with this scenario, guys. As you can see, the connection is okay and up and ready to work. You can do that in your real environment very easily. Don't worry about that. I'm here. If you have any problem or you need any help, you can find me in LinkedIn page. I input my LinkedIn page address in caption. Thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe and like this video to support me. It means a lot for me. It was very enjoyable. Until the next video, goodbye.